Load board videos are problematic. They're a snapshot into a much bigger picture. Somebody's showing you either how great things are or how bad things are. But keep in mind, both these conditions are temporary. I'm here next to the ocean because we're going to do a deep dive into the Southern California Amazon relay load board market. Let's get after it. So before we begin, I got to knock out the business end of this data collection. I collected all of this over this past weekend, Super Bowl weekend, started Saturday, Sunday, Monday, spread it out over 3 days, centered my search in Coachella off of a subscriber request. Now, to make it relative to all of Southern California, I gave it a 100-mile search radius for loads going no further than 250 miles. I searched for power only, 53-foot trailers and containers. I sorted them by start date. One thing you'll find with Amazon, if it's not urgent, if it's not moving now, it typically doesn't pay that well. Anything like 6 to 8 hours from now, they're not interested in moving. But the things they're interested in moving right now, they'll pay a lot more for. So day one of collecting this data, I let this thing run Saturday night from 7:39 until 7:51. You might be looking at this saying, hey, you know, there's 200-300 loads, show us all of them. Again, it all comes down to urgency. I promise you we're gonna get to that. During that time period at 7:45, one decent load dropped going as a round trip from Redlands down to the Ontario airport. They dropped that for $4.10 a mile. Then I checked back in on it at 8:58 Saturday night, let it run till 9:06. During that time, they had 3 local loads here in San Diego, moving empty trailers from one warehouse to another, $5.68 a mile. On Sunday morning, Sunday I was hopeful, it was the Super Bowl. Sunday I let it run from 9:36 to 9:50. In those 14 minutes, stuff dropped, but it was all 1 to 2 days out. Again, no urgency in moving that stuff. And then after the Super Bowl started, I let it run from 3:46 until 4 p.m. Again, everything that dropped during that time period were 1 to 2 days out. No urgency, not a lot of money. So the Super Bowl starts, I stopped doing the screen recordings, but I still have the load board running during the whole thing. I'm sitting on my couch watching the game. Every time I see like a load of note, I take like a screenshot of it. So 4:45, they had a decent one going from Bloomington down to LA. 5:06, this was the first time I saw a setup I might like to take advantage. At 5:06, they had an Ontario going down to San 3, not great money, but then a San 3 returning to the Ontario airport. If you book both of them together, it's $850, about 4.5-5 hours of your time, probably about 40 gallons of fuel, $850, not a bad deal. Similar setup happened at 5:30. They had the same Ontario going down to San 3, and then from San 3 back to Highland. So between those two loads, 0 deadhead, and they each started like an hour or within an hour of one another. 5:37 p.m. they dropped a $7.96 a mile load. However, it had 6 stops and took 11 hours. That's something to consider. I mean, how long is this going to take? It's 6:11. They finally posted one that had urgency. You figure it got posted at 6:11 and it was scheduled to leave at 6:45. And wouldn't you know, they're willing to pay $13.64 a mile to move it. 6:20. There was one that was interesting. Rather than having a designated pickup place, it actually gave GPS coordinates. The interesting thing about this is when I plugged those coordinates into Google Maps, it came up as a truck stop, which tells me that there's probably like a truck broken down out there. Typically, you see these on the spot capacity emails, and those can be lucrative. Those are where you have the chance to kind of barter with Amazon a little bit. Like they may say, hey, we want this move for 400, but you can counter with 800. Maybe they say yes. And then at 8:29, they had an empty trailer running out of Poway going down to San 5. They were willing to pay $5.43 a mile. So on Monday, I let the load board run for 10 more minutes from like 1:36 to 1:46. During that time, nothing of note dropped. I mean, everything was like $2, $2.50 a mile. Everything was leaving in a day or two. So nothing really great to report on Monday. So my opinion on this, I mean, how would I rate what I saw over this weekend? On a scale from 1 to 10, you know, with 10 being great and 1 being terrible. Overall, I'd just give it a 4. I would say the rates are about average. I'd probably give the rates about a 5. But as far as the speed at which these well-paying loads were dropping, I would give that a 3. So average those two out, that's where I'm coming up with the 4 from. So how can you make these numbers work for you? Well, the answer to that question is, let's go back to my Friday. Friday, I set up 2 loads before I left the house. One was a Otay to Poway. I was due down there at 9:30, and then I wanted to create a bookend. I knew I'd stay out all night. I booked one that following morning, Saturday. It was supposed to leave at like 8 o'clock going around in the Otay area. Show up to Otay 9:30 for the Poway one, it's canceled. Well, that's a $175 truck order not used that I'm paid right then and there. Fast forward to like 2:15 in the morning, they drop another one, a little bring your own trailer carts from Dib 5 down to Sand 3. Again, it paid decent. Done with that one. Now here's where things start to get interesting. They had a load on their board going from DSD1, bringing an empty trailer back down to Otay. I did have to bobtail up to DSD1, it's about 40 miles, but got paid for the way back. Again, decent paying load, but as soon as I get back from that one, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning now at this time. I go ahead and I go over to the SDM4. It's also Sand 5. There are 2 facilities in one building. I show up there 2 hours early for my 7:59 load, thinking like, okay, worst case scenario, I sit in their parking lot and wait. I get there and the trailer's ready. I actually take it across the street. It went to Sand 3 and then back to Sand 5 or SDM4. I get it back there. I'm done with that one at like 6:30 in the morning. Now, they immediately drop another one, leaving Sand 5, exactly where I'm at, going up to Vista for $5 a mile. I'm in their parking lot. I'm already checked in. I go ahead and I book it. I go check, I kind of recheck in at the guard shack. I walk up there and say, hey, I'm going to take this one next. Guess what? The Vista one gets canceled. There's another $175 truck order because I'm there and I'm checked in, but Amazon canceled the load. Now, they start dropping these, move the trailer across the streets, but they need to be done by 7:28. I book both of them. I start them at like 6:45. I'm done by 7:20 with the last one. So, you look at the whole night. The whole night was like $1,300. I did it all in 10 hours, less than 100 miles on the truck. But the exciting part for me for that night was between 6 a.m. and 7:20, I made almost $800. So, I stand by that. Anyway, as always, I hope you like this. I appreciate you for watching this video. I hope this video serves you well. Take care.